Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to A Geek First Review. My name is Travis Now. This is going to be hopefully a quick one. This is one that, first of all, you know what? Let's start with some plugs. Check out our Us review. Very great review. Very excited to talk about that movie. Check out, if whenever you're listening to this, it's probably out. If not, it's coming out. Our Shazam review. We're doing a Shazam non-spoilers. There will be a spoilers review when the movie releases, or if you want to come to Patreon, a week from now, I think over a week from now, we're doing a WrestleMania watch along. That's always lots of fun. Join us there. Geek First Gauntlet is back March 30th. The matches have just been announced. There's a preview video in the audio feed and video feed on YouTube. Lots of good stuff dropping in. Me and Taylor got some spicy plans for Star Wars Celebration. We're not going to be there, but we're going to try and have some fun at home, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So, The Dirt. Let's get in this. I am doing this. Let me start by this. With movies, I feel like people get so bitchy and just so personally upset at times where if you go and you eat something, right? Let's say I didn't even cook it. You're at a restaurant, someone orders something, it's an egg wrap of some sort. They eat it. This is gross. This is disgusting. And you like the egg wrap, you never get offended. With movies, you could say this is the worst, this is awful, one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and people say, you're attacking me, my likes and whatnot. If you're that type of person and you liked The Dirt, don't listen to this. Do I think The Dirt is the worst movie ever made? No. But I think the only reason I'm doing this review is because I thought it was so bad. I quickly wanted to talk about it. And honestly, what we do, and we sometimes forget, and I always hate that, but we try to, in our non-spoiler reviews at least, recommend things, you know? I'm almost doing this to make sure you don't watch it. And honestly, I shouldn't say that. Go watch it to see it, to believe it. I think I've not seen Serenity, and I'm not sure if there's anything else, but I feel like that's the only movie I've heard shout out the worst movie of the year. So for me personally, from what I've seen, this is the worst movie easily of the year. And I'd have to go back to 2018 and look like what was the worst. It's not worse than Slender Man. It's not worse than Jurassic World. It's kind of on that Jurassic World level. I did not like this movie. This is, and I guess the other reason I got on there, because I'd been fighting with myself if I was going to review it or not, because I like to, if we watch a big movie, if I have to shit on it or speak negatively, I will. But I never want to just come on here and blast a movie. But I think it was just because I saw so many takes of people saying like it was better than Bo Rap and stuff like that. I was being in Crazyville. So it's almost like I'm speaking. It's like if you're an alien invasion or zombie invasion and you're alone and you're making a call to the world to see if anyone is out there with you. Because there's other people I think that don't like the movie. But I am surprised that no one sees it the way I do. This movie is not good. It's good. I don't know how it's good, because honestly, like you look at Bohemian Rhapsody that came out, and that's the biggest kind of music biopic that we've got in quite a while, right? Won a bunch of Oscars, so that's what I'm kind of comparing that. But I just saw a lot of people just doing that, The Dirt greater than Bohemian Rhapsody sign. This movie is not good. From scripting wise, it's not good. From structure, it's not good. From character development, it's not good. And I hate to say this, but most importantly, I think the acting is not good, or it is not casted correctly. Because in my opinion, and this sounds bad, and I especially because that guy Aaron something who plays Ramsey Bolton, fantastic. I think he's a guy that should play the Joker maybe one day. I think these people are in this movie like a Machine Gun Kelly, who I've only seen Bird Box and Captive State, and he's just fine. I think these people are in this movie because lots of other people probably read this movie and went, no chance. Like, these guys are not stars, right? It's on Netflix about Motley Crue. I get it. You can make the argument that Rami Malek was not a mega star, so fair enough. But I still think Bad Robot was big enough. I think Queen is a lot bigger. And it's just that I have problems that I don't know if it is a full-on acting thing, a full-on scripting thing, or a full-on I don't care about Motley Crue's story. I don't think it's that, but at the end of the day, I'll kind of start there. Motley Crue's story is based off this book, The Dirt. Excuse me. So, or like this movie's based off the book, and Motley Crue's, it kind of goes through a story, and it's a fun idea where it is they all wrote a book together, and they all write about certain instances of, like, it's the same way if me, Dylan, Taylor, Tyler, Jessica, Tyler, Kirkland, Tyler's in the wrote a book about how a podcast went, we would have different perspectives. Maybe we would remember things different ways. Same thing if we talk about 24-hour streams or how the podcast even created. Taylor Field had the idea. Taylor Field had the name. I'm sure people might not even remember that when we talk about, or remember it in a different way, or remember when we started it. So that's fun concept. They touch on that a little bit in the movie, but the movie just feels like a series of events. And I'm going to come back to that. But the other thing is with Motley Crue is one of the biggest rock and roll bands of all time. Of their era, I don't think they're in the top 50 as far as like top icons whatsoever, like in music general. But I think rock and roll, they're up there. They're definitely top 50. They had a big time, huge hits, a big culture impact. So the thing is, they have interesting story, and people have, like, that was so much. I watched an interview with them on Collider Live. Check out that show. Big fan of that. And they were just talking about, like, it gets really down and dirty and whatnot. And that was some of my problems with Bohemian Rhapsody, where it's tough because I have so many problems. So I'm trying to center. But Bohemian Rhapsody, I was liking the acting, and I didn't have too much problem with the scripts and dialogues. Editing, yes, but the most part was the acting, and I feel like that was, I always said Rami was really good, and the story was kind of fine, cookie cutter, but then they didn't get really down and dirty. And I feel like lots of people, in my opinion, are liking this because it shows them, and a mini spoiler, most of it's based on true events and the book, but like something like this is a mini minor spoiler. The movie opens with them at a party, Tommy Lee is being all crazy and whatnot, and then he starts to go down on this girl, and then the girl starts to squirt after she orgasms. Sorry, but that's the type of movie this is. It's the dirt, and it is a very dirty movie the entire time. They have Ozzy Osbourne licking his piss at one moment, his own piss, and another man's piss. It's wild. And she's just squirting, and maybe that's the way it went, but it's comical the way it is. It's like porn star, and maybe that happens, but it just felt a little too egregious, and that's the way the movie opens. And to me, I think that's why people are liking it, because it shows the drugs and blah, 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 and shows them being down and dirty and them fighting. But there's no tact behind it. There's no love and care given to these scenes. Like, there's multiple scenes where Nikki Sixx is doing drugs, but they're not shot. There's just him. They'll take a kneel and just sit there, and I don't think the actor's strong enough to portray this performance going on. So there's nothing artsy about it. There's no, in my opinion, passion. It's just... And this is the other thing where I'll bring, like, Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith always talked about how with some of these bigger blockbusters, whatnot, he couldn't direct her. Maybe I'm paraphrasing. I don't want to say it like that. But he's always said that he's a guy that will create a bunch of dialogue, put the camera down, shoot, and let the actors go, right? He's not really big on do big shots and cinematography. He's more of a story character guy as far as just talk, and let's capture that and move along. That's what this movie does a lot of the times, and that's fine if there's interesting stuff going on. And the fact that, yes, he's doing drugs is interesting. It's sad. But after a while, it gets redundant, and it's just literally sometimes just close-ups on his face. A shot of him just sitting there. A shot from the closet of him walking back and forth, high out of his mind. And I don't think there's anything special about anything as far as shooting-wise or anything like that, that it just feels like stuff is happening and they just plop a camera. Exactly what I'm doing right now. The reason the camera is like that is because it is just me in this room, and I'm just doing a podcast where I'm sitting and not moving. That's, to me, what this movie feels like. Is like, yeah, of course, it moves and it follows characters, but it just feels like characters are placed there. It's like a plate. Okay, and we're filming it. All right. But that's back to as far as the dirt portion. I was liking the acting in Bohemian Rhapsody, but I did want more. I didn't want just a VH1 biopic TV made movie. And then a lot of people, and like myself, were saying, I wish it got a bit more down and dirty. This does get very down and dirty, but it doesn't have any great performances. It doesn't have, to me, any great moments. Things move at a thunderous page. I thought that's how they moved in Bo Rap. No. This is even worse. It's like you're on drugs. And it's also worse as well because the movie was about Queen for Bohemian Rhapsody, but centered on Rami Malek, and then the other guys got some moments to shine. But I honestly don't think they did. But they tried that, right? There's no main character, and I know someone's going to be like, well, because there's 4. But I mean that there's Nikki Sixx narrating, but I don't feel like you get a deep dive on any of them, but I don't think any of them also get to be just a quarter interesting to care. And I feel like those guys are interesting people. I'm not like with Queen of Bohemian Rhapsody where I knew a lot of stuff. I know some of their songs. I know some of their history and their story, but I'm not like Motley Crue, like purist. So that could be it. Maybe it's just I'm not that interested, and I'll get into that after. But I just feel that as far as a movie, I don't invest in anybody. There's times where, they're dealing with big things like cheating on people or drug addiction or a man's daughter dying of cancer, and it just moves very quick, and there's just like one mention of her dying, and then we move on and everything's fine and we're back in the band together. And maybe their lives were like that. I'm not trying to take it like that. I feel the movie just moves at such a quick pace. We got bad wigs. You got characters not aging at all after like 20 years, just some change haircuts. And I know like I think that's kind of the same that they did that with Bohemian Rhapsody as well. I think that's a big problem, but it just feels like there's not much effort. It just feels like because the crazy stories, that's why people are going to love this. I hate to break it to you. I am, like, this is going to sound harsh. For me, a David Bowie biopic, sure, I'd like to see it, but I don't need it. To me, biopics, I enjoy more of historical figures, something like a Malcolm X or something like that, or something that is like to me, something about Freddie Mercury was special. There was something about him that deserved that. David Bowie, Mick Jagger, these people are very special. But at the end of the day, they're people creating music. You know, it's the same thing as like maybe certain actors could get it. But I don't want biopics on all these actors like a George Clooney or Brad Pitt, because it's just like, sure, you might have someone having an affair, this and that, but they're going to be pretty basic. Motley Crue in this movie, and that's what it feels like, it feels like this movie is trying to pitch, and it's not, but to make why it's like great and raw and edgy, that at this time, all these other bands were nice and cookie cutter and good guys and didn't break the rules and didn't do drugs and didn't have unprotected sex and get in trouble. Every rock band has been doing that since the fucking 70s. And you know what? That's not interesting to me. That's the thing where Wolf of Wall Street, where even then the stuff they're doing in this movie, to me, I don't think the actors played off good enough. I was like, these guys are fucking douchebags, but they look like they're having so much fun. I'm kind of having fun. That's the way Wolf of Wall Street did it with Jonah Hill, with Leo. They sold it so well. And that's why all these people are miscast. They do this thing at the end credits where they show them side by side and them acting. Tommy Lee, there's this one moment where he's talking about a story, and he's on a motorcycle, and he's telling the story that they filmed in the movie they did. He's running naked through the hotel. But he just has, and like I said, and that's the other thing. With this movie, if this is kind of the way lots of them are, it's not something that really interests me. What interests me in Wolf of Wall Street was not seeing Jordan Belfort being a dick. That was one thing, but it was how he got to where he was. This was just kind of, okay, how did they grow? How did they break apart, come together? Basic biopic band stuff. But to me, the stuff they were doing was very childish and very just immature and not anybody I'd want to hang around with. So one, I don't really like them as a character or a person, or I think the way they portrayed it. I think you could even be those party animals and be despicable, but I don't think they gave enough time to fall in love with these real people. Each of them get like I feel like a 5-minute intro, and that's about it. Then you're just expected to full on care, even when they're doing terrible things. So that's one. I'm back after I remember my detour. So my thing was about music biopics. I love David Bowie, but I don't think there's enough that necessarily warrants a big movie. Or like I said, that sounds bad. He's my favorite singer of all time, but I feel like it's just about creation of his music. And if that's the point, I want a documentary. And there are those. I want that because I feel like that's what I'm in tune for. Something like Freddie Mercury to me had these highs and lows. He was one of the bigger ones to not come out as gay, but it came out he was gay. He passed away of AIDS. It's a very tragic tale. I think there's a few and far in between musicians that you could do that for, you know? And I don't think Motley Crue's story is that special other than a lot of crazy shit happened. And that's what the movie, and I almost just wish that was it, you know? And that's why I try to not do that now and say I wish the movie was that. But the reason I do wish it was that, because they have their story of the band, but then there's many times where it's just like, oh, they randomly meet Ozzy, and like I said, minor spoiler for this scene, he's just fucking crazy. He's older, so he's talking about them being young cats, and he's kind of showing he's just as nuts as them. One time they're at a pool, he pees on the ground, he licks it. Someone else I think Nikki Sixx pees on the ground, and he goes to He also goes to lick it, but then Ozzy gets in the way. And that's the thing, they put in little moments where it's just like they could be little standalone stories. And they do, one thing I really liked is things will be happening and characters will break the fourth wall and they'll zoom and be like, this didn't happen at all. And they're like, I'm really sorry this guy got cut out of the movie. I really like that. There wasn't enough. I wish it was all over the place, but I wish it was either the straightforward biopic and you could have got maybe more of the characters, or that kind of artsy, like I said, do like a Pulp Fiction, tell a story from all these different perspectives from them, but they're trying to also encapsulate their whole career, which I think, other than there's personal stuff. Of course, someone losing their daughter is not special or not tragic, but I just mean in the sense that the main crux of the story, because his daughter dying, Vince Neil's daughter's dying, is not to me it's a big part of the story, but I feel like the screen time and how it's handled does not feel big. Of course, a man's daughter passing away and that kind of making the band come back together is huge, but the way they do in the movie does not feel that way. It just feels like another part of the story. And to me, they didn't. I feel like they couldn't decide if they wanted the emotion, not even the emotion, but just like the band. This is their story, or the Wild Events movie. I think you had to do one or the other, and if you were gonna do them both, they did not pull it off well. And this is what I kind of forgot as well. I trailed off as far as acting, directing. The guy, and I don't want to say it's bad against him. Anyone can do something. Look at Jordan Peele right now. People just thought, sketch comedy. What's this Get Out movie? Knocks the walls, like knocks it out of the park. Us just the other day had the biggest first opening day for any original movie ever. So that shows this guy has something that I didn't think he had. Many other people didn't have. So this guy directed Jackass and Bad Grandpa, which actually Bad Grandpa I quite liked. So I don't want to pigeonhole the guy, but it feels exactly like that. It's just for the cheap, cheap thrills, laughs, kind of gross out humor. And with Bad Grandpa, it did have that, but I felt like that even had some heart and emotion. This feels like it's just like very surface level. And maybe the last thing, because I don't have much to say, because I think it would just keep being negative. They just skip over very quickly, very fast. Weddings, deaths, breakups, the whole deal. It's uber fast as Flash. This is I won't say the main reason, but the kind of main reason A, main reason B. I think there's so many reasons. I'd say if you were to nail it down to four, narrow it down, but there's more. I'd say the structure of the movie, like I said, whether it's just the pacing of it or what they chose to do or how they chose to place these events. Because sometimes I feel like Ozzy being there was just like, look, we got Ozzy there. Two, directing, but what I still feel is the top two, and I didn't look who wrote the script, so my bad, and who knows, director get involved, studio, Netflix, to me was the script or just what ended up being on the screen as far as the version of the script and the acting. So I already kind of talked about the script and the writing problems. The acting to me it's not bad, but it's not believable. This feels like a TV made movie. And it feels like Netflix is trying to get away from that. They don't want to be pigeonholed as that. You got Roma. You have, I don't know. Bird Box was another big one. That was kind of like their big mainstream hit. And they're trying, at least. They're trying to get past that, right? Like I just saw some movie, I think The Last Unicorn or something with Brie Larson coming out as a painter movie. I don't know. But they're trying. They're making moves. This feels like a very old Netflix movie where it's just like, Netflix movies are pretty quite bad. And like I was referring to, they were talking about this clip where that's how I got off track because I talking about them kind of being shitty guys. Tommy Lee is on a motorcycle. He's telling the story about him running naked through a hotel. They film that in the movie. They show that side by side in the movie while he's doing that. And they even do this thing where Machine Gun Kelly goes in the trailer. He looks in the camera and says, "Hey, dude," in like just a studio, like on a lot trailer. He comes out and it's real Tommy Lee, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And you can just see the difference. And especially when they put people side by side. One, I don't think they did the greatest look and makeup job. It felt very cheap and low budget. But two, I would say all these actors, and the only one, same thing with like the guy that plays Ramsay from Game of Thrones, Ewan, I want to learn his name because I don't want to just refer to him as that Ramsay from Game of Thrones the whole life. He's good to decent, but his character has nothing to do. He gets like the least fleshed out. But the rest of them, and even then, I would say it's not because the script is bad. He doesn't get to be good. He's just fine. And the rest of them, to me, are not good or not passable. They don't have the aura these people do. And that's the thing. Even if I wouldn't have liked the movie, even if I wouldn't have liked what they done, I'd be like, hey, I don't really resonate with these guys. And how could I? I've never been had that lifestyle of being a rock and roll. I'm a fucking straight edge person. So I don't have that. I don't have that buy-in right away to be like, I could imagine what this lifestyle is. I could never imagine what that lifestyle is for the most part. So you're supposed to me at least, if you, same thing as Leo as Jordan Belfort, you could fucking hate this guy and everything he's doing is despicable, but he just has that aura about him of, yeah, I could see why he'd talking to people. Or talking to people. Why he could talk people into doing things. This, I could not see any of them being these big stars, being able to be with all these women. And not saying like Motley Crue the real people. I'm saying the actors portraying them. And when they do side by sides of them in the end credit scenes, all of them have a distinct personality or this or charisma where it's like that might be a shit guy, but he has that it factor. He has that star factor, you know? The actors do not have that all. They don't have the gravitas. They don't have, and I feel like that's because a lot of actors would have passed on this. I feel like it is like a very lower tier one. It's just, it just didn't hit. It just, for me, none of it hit. It all felt kind of parody-like at times. It felt, like I said, surface level. It felt cheap. It was not good, and I hate to like call it a bunch of people because I'm not an actor. So you know what? That whatever. But that's what we do on here review, right? They could listen. They could come to my job and see, oh, he's a shit. He's shit at planting those plants. He's shit at tearing that lawn apart. You know. So that's what I'm supposed to do, and I can say that maybe these guys aren't shit overall, but they are shit in this movie. And I don't even know if it, and that to me could be a script thing, that could be just a miscasting thing, but either way, it's not good. I think this movie is really, really not good. And I don't even know, like, it's so hyperbolic to give it some score that is like a 1 or a 2, but I'm trying to think of a reason. I've never given a movie a 0 out of 10. The music's good. I will give it a 1 for the music. I will give it a 1 for a few of those quirky. There's a character Pete Davidson plays. He's like trying to be their manager. They end up one guy. Tommy Lee ends up sleeping. No, it's Vince ends up sleeping with his girlfriend. They walk away. The girlfriend comes back to Pete Davidson, acting everything's so normal. And he turns the camera and he's like, I wouldn't find out about that till 4 years later. And then I figured out you never leave your girlfriend with Motley Crue because they'll fuck your girlfriend. And that has a few moments like that in the movie. So I'll give it a 1. A 1 out of 10. And to me, because I just don't think there's anything. It's one of the worst movies I've seen in quite a while. And maybe, because I think Slender Man I gave like maybe like a 0.5 for enjoyment. But I think I almost gave that a 0. I'm trying not to be hyperbolic. But that's why as well, just tell me what's good about it other than just all I feel I see is just, yeah, it gets really dark and gritty. If you want to see people doing drugs, go watch Breaking Bad. If you want to see a rock concert, go watch a documentary, actually rock concert. And I feel like it's a lot of males that are liking this movie. If you want to see a bunch of girls mud wrestling or a bunch of sex scenes or a bunch of just tits all around, maybe there's 3 things you can do. Either you got to go masturbate, you got to go watch some porn, or you got to get laid. Because I feel like it's just, I don't want to throw that out there, but I do that with comic stuff. It just feels like a lot of dudes. Just like, yeah, it's like that, almost like that, just imagining yourself. Like, this would have been the greatest, you know? It's just like, I guess, and I get it. I get the allure. I don't get the allure of the drugs and whatnot, but the females, I get the allure of that. But that, to me, does not make a good movie. You know, a bunch of gorgeous a bunch of gorgeous women being naked, having a bunch of sex scenes. Okay, they got dark and dirty, and whatever these stories are told, like there's a girl at one point, they're just all sitting around, and she's just going around giving blowjobs to each of the guys, and it's played as comedic. That's fine. If you're gonna do that, that's fine. I'm not being that guy who's like, I'm offended. It's just, what more do you got? Because I've seen that before, and that's the thing. Maybe it's just as well. I feel like this movie, like that's why I wish they kept with that more artsy, comical, looking at the camera, breaking the fourth wall, because that's what you got to do. There's a bunch of crazy stories. Okay, make it about that, because the rest of the breaking up and come back together, that's generic. And at the end of the day, what's the big thing? They did a lot of drugs. They broke up and got back together. I wonder there could be not a single other band on the world that you could do that story to, right? 1 out of 10. Do not watch this movie, but maybe watch it just to get back to me. And if you like it, and not just because, like I said, it gets your rocks off and you're a male or female and you enjoy women, you're like, man, there's a lot of great looking women, because the women on this are fantastic. They look great. That's great. But tell me a reason why. Tell me, and not the music and not the women. This has been my review. It's probably gone longer than I even expected. I do not recommend this movie at all. I don't even recommend it for a watch because it's so bad, it's so good. It's just bad and bland, and it's just like, ugh, Netflix, you just had a movie that almost won Best Picture. Start watching what you put out, So, but I'm sure I'll get lots of hits. It's Motley Crue. You know what to do. Go down below in the description if you like what we do here on the video. That's YouTube and podcast services. All the description are down below where you can subscribe. And the biggest thing is we're trying to get to 200 iTunes reviews. It would give us a big milestone and make us a big step forward. So please, if you could do that, we'd really appreciate it. Even if, hey, we would love the 5-star and you just say, good, great. that's awesome. It takes 2 minutes out of your day, but if you don't feel like that, give me some constructive criticism. Don't give me a 1 star because I shat on the dirt and you're like, I like that movie. Do that in the comics. If you have an actual gripe and you don't feel we deserve a 5-star, 4-star, you think we deserve a fail, you tell us. Don't just drop that fail. But either way, please go review us. And if you really like what we do, head over to the Patreon. We got tons of stuff there. Clone Wars Retro, After 9 exclusive show, Geek First Gauntlet, our gaming esports league is back. The first 2 events will be up there. What else? Lord of the Rings Retro's up there. Taking a little hiatus right now because Dylan's about to go on a trip. X-Men Retro Storm. We got tons of good stuff. So thank you very much. Thank you for indulging me in this madness review. And when you hear from me next, which is going to be Shazam, that will not be boring. I promise.